All right, we need you to pause for a second and just process this with us. Apple, the same company that sells $1,000 laptops like their coffee, just dropped a $599 MacBook. Not refurbished, not last year's model, not student special with weird compromises, a brand new aluminum, colorful, modern Mac called the MacBook Neo. And when we first saw the announcement, we genuinely thought, okay, what's the catch? Because there has to be a catch, right? This is Apple. We've got a lot of feelings, some excitement, some confusion, some real admiration, and yeah, a few concerns too. So let's sit down and really talk about what the MacBook Neo actually is, who it's for, and whether this thing is secretly the biggest shakeup to the laptop market in years. So first off, let's just talk about the vibe. Because Apple did something smart here. They didn't just make a cheaper MacBook Air and call it a day. The Neo has its own personality. It comes in these fun colors: citrus, blush, indigo, and classic silver, and they're not shy about it. The keyboards are color matched. The whole thing feels playful in a way that Apple laptops haven't in a while. It honestly reminds us of the colorful iMac era, but portable. And that matters more than people think. When you're buying a budget laptop, you don't want it to feel like the lesser option. The Neo feels intentional. It feels like Apple actually designed it to exist, not like it was a leftover bin project. Now physically, it's a 13-inch machine. Slightly thicker than the Air, but still slim. Still aluminum. Still solid. When you pick it up, it doesn't scream budget. It feels like a Mac. The hinge is smooth. The chassis doesn't flex. The keyboard is the same Magic Keyboard style Apple's been refining for years. Comfortable, quiet, reliable. The trackpad? This is one of the cost-saving areas. It's not the full haptic force touch system you get on higher-end Macs. It's more traditional. It physically clicks. Does that ruin the experience? Honestly, no. If you've never used a Force Touch trackpad, you won't miss it. But if you're coming from a higher-end Mac, you'll notice it for sure. Port selection is simple. 2 USB-C ports and a headphone jack. No MagSafe. That's one of the trade-offs. You charge through USB-C like it's 2018 again. Is that a deal breaker? Probably not. But it's one of those subtle reminders that you're in the $599 tier. And yet, it still has a 1080p webcam, which we appreciate. Budget laptops often cheap out on webcams first, but Apple didn't. Good job, guys. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room: performance. The MacBook Neo runs on the A18 Pro chip. Yes, the same family of chip architecture powering Apple's high-end iPhones adapted for Mac. And before you panic, on paper, this chip is actually stronger than the old M1 in certain workloads. And it's wild even saying that. The M1 is still more than enough for most people in 2026. So performance for web browsing, streaming, schoolwork, light editing, it's all surprisingly smooth. Where things get interesting is memory. The base model comes with 8 GB of unified memory and 256 GB of storage. Storage starting at 256 GB is actually better than I feared. There were rumors it might start at 128 GB, so that's a win. But 8 GB of RAM in 2026, that's the question mark. With macOS Tahoe becoming more AI heavy and multitasking getting more demanding, 8 GB is fine, but it's not future-proof. If you're the kind of person who keeps 37 Chrome tabs open, edits photos, streams music, and runs Slack all at once, you might feel the struggle. Now here's something that surprised us. The base $599 model does not include Touch ID. That's one of the strangest omissions. If you want Touch ID and 512 GB of storage, you bump up to the $699 model. And honestly, we'd recommend that upgrade. For $100 more, doubling storage and getting biometric authentication feels worth it. Typing your password constantly in 2026 feels ancient. Battery life is where Apple flexes, because that A-series efficiency really shines. You're looking at an all-day battery for typical use. Streaming, browsing, writing. You'll comfortably get through a school day or work day. It's not beating the MacBook Air's endurance records, but it's not trying to. It's aiming to be dependable, and it hits that. Let's talk about display. It's a 13-inch liquid retina display, bright, sharp, colorful. Is it a mini LED? No. Is it 120 Hz ProMotion? No. But at this price, it doesn't need to be. Colors look vibrant. The texts are crisp. Watching Netflix on this thing feels premium. Editing documents feels great. For a $599 machine, this display punches above its weight class. Now let's zoom out and talk about the strategy behind this new laptop. Because we think the Neo is bigger than just specs. For years, the entry price for a new Mac laptop hovered near $999. That created this psychological barrier. Students, families, casual users, they'd walk into a store, see the price, and go buy a Windows laptop instead. Not because they loved Windows, because it was cheaper. The MacBook Neo changes that conversation. At $599 and $499 with education pricing, this is suddenly competitive with mid-range Windows Ultrabooks. But it still carries the Apple build quality, ecosystem, and resale value. And let me get personal for a second. When I was in school, I wanted a MacBook so badly, but I just simply couldn't afford one. Ended up with the plastic Windows machine that felt outdated, like if it was from the Stone Age. I felt embarrassed just taking it out of my backpack. If the Neo existed back then, I would have jumped on it. That's the emotional angle here. Apple just opened the door to so many students who need to save money but still want a cool-looking laptop. And honestly, what's cooler than pulling out a MacBook in class? Doesn't get better than that. But let's not pretend it's perfect. There are compromises. No MagSafe, no base Touch ID, limited RAM, no fan, so sustained heavy workloads will throttle. This is not a video editing monster. This is not a coding workstation. This is not for someone rendering 4K footage daily. This is for students, writers, remote workers, casual creators, people living in Google Docs and Safari. And honestly, that's most people. The speakers are solid, not MacBook Pro level immersive, but clear and surprisingly full for the size. The mic array is clean for Zoom calls. The thermal design stays quiet because there's no fan screaming under load. It's peaceful. So who should buy this? If you want the cheapest possible entry into macOS without feeling like you compromised your wallet, this is it. If you're a student, this might be the sweet spot. If you're buying a laptop for your kid, your parents, or yourself, and you just need something reliable for the next 4 to 5 years, the Neo makes a strong case. Now, who shouldn't buy it? If you're already eyeing the MacBook Air and can stretch the budget, the Air still offers better long-term headroom. If you need more than 8 GB RAM or heavy pro workflows, skip this. This is not the one laptop to rule them all. It's the one laptop to make Mac accessible. And here's our big takeaway. The MacBook Neo doesn't feel like Apple is lowering their standards. It feels like Apple finally acknowledging that not everyone wants to spend $1,000 to check email and write papers. It feels strategic. It feels confident. Is it the best laptop Apple has ever made? No, obviously not. Far from it. However, is it one of the most important laptops they've made? We honestly think so. Because when you can walk into Apple's website and buy a brand new aluminum MacBook for $599 or $499 with education pricing, that changes perception. That changes accessibility. That changes market share conversations. And that's why many of us, including myself, are kind of blown away. If you've been waiting for a Mac that doesn't require financial gymnastics, this might be your moment. If you're curious how it compares long-term to the MacBook Air or how the A18 Pro ages over time, let me know. We're planning for future comparisons. But yeah, we didn't expect to sit here in 2026 talking about a $599 MacBook and actually mean it when we say, this feels like a big deal. All right, that's our full breakdown of the MacBook Neo. If you enjoyed this kind of deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe for more real-world tech conversations, and tell me in the comments, is this enough to convince you? Or are you still holding out for something more powerful? We'll catch you later.